we forgot to record earlier, so.
Hello.
Let's go. Hello, Titi.
Hello, JJ.
People are going to call me JJ now that you're...
What do you want me to call
nobody
you?
calls me JJ.
Jen.
You can. Only
Hello,
my mom calls
Jen.
me JJ.
Hello, Jan.
Hello,
Jen.
Tay. All right. Well, we're back with another episode of The
Things. I'm Thing
We
One.
did that good. That's good. I'm Thing Two. And today we're talking about how to optimize your morning routine. Routine. I said routine weird. How to optimize your morning
Or if you're a
routine.
teenager, how to Oppenheimer. Atomic Habits. How to Oppenheimer your morning routine.
I'm so sad we didn't get the Atomic Man on. I tried to record earlier and I messed up.
We'll get it. How to atomic your morning
Oh God.
routine.
Anyway, okay. So, and I think that we're still figuring out the tone of this, but I like that this is just freewheeling and just it goes where it goes. So I'm not going to be too structured with this, but I do have some kind of
Hit me with your research.
prompt questions, and I have some research. But before we get into all that, I want to ask you what your morning routine is.
Sure. So my morning routine is I wake up with the sun. Usually this started during 2020. I wasn't a morning person before that. Not really. Like I was and part of it is I wasn't like on my best optimized self because I was not diagnosed yet with ADHD. I was probably a bit anxious and depressed in some ways. I was at a job that was super like definitely abusive, toxic environment. So all those things are no longer true, thank goodness. But in 2020, I would literally like when we were all quarantined and I finally had time alone and just reset my energy, I would literally like wake up with the sun. And I'm not talking about like the sun would come up and it would
Alarm clock?
Yeah, no alarm clock. And it wasn't like the sun would come up and wake me up. It was like I would like wake up in the middle of the night like crippling anxiety, and then look at the clock and be like 4:30, and then I'd look outside and be like dark, and I'd be like, why is it dark? And then sure enough, within the minute, like deep, 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 the sun would start creeping over
So your circadian rhythm was timed.
literally. And it happened so much and for so long, months and months, that I was like, I stopped using my alarm because during the pandemic, normally I'd be scared not to go to work, but I'd be like, who cares? So I would literally like, if I sleep in one day, I'd be like, oops, I slept in, whatever, it's fucking COVID. So I literally did it for so long. And then years later, it's still happening, but it's kind of mellowed down now. Like now I'm on vacation, like this weekend I went to Miami. We went out one night and I did like sleep in till like 10. So I can now sleep in. But it used to be like on vacations, I would still like 6 a.m. but just wake up. Like it would be hard to sleep past 6. Mm-hmm. And I will add a disclaimer with that. And it's that when I wake up that early, I do often take a nap around 8 or 11 or 3 and like 20-minute, 30-minute naps, not like full on hour naps. But that helps a lot. So if I'm up at 5, I'm not afraid to start my day because I work for myself. But when I used to go to an office, I wouldn't want to start because I'm like, oh my God, as soon as 9 a.m. hits, I'm at that prison until 5. You know, like I can't take a nap at 11 at work. But now I'm like, well, I can take a nap at 9 a.m. if I want to. Like, so why not start my day at 5?
I'm so glad you said that because I thought I was weird that when I wake up early, I also take naps in the morning. And I thought was weird because I thought you couldn't take a nap till a little later in the day, but why not?
Start your day at 5 and take a nap at 8. You've been awake for 3 hours. That's a long time.
You deserve a break.
It's a whole Oppenheimer of a time.
Do you eat before your nap? Your morning nap?
Yeah, I like to eat first thing, but now sometimes I like to eat before I take my doggy out. Sometimes if I'm really early and nobody's awake because I now live with someone, I will get up and not do any of my loud clanky things like brushing my teeth or whatever. I'll just go straight to my office and write for like an hour, and then like the sun will come up and my partner will wake up and the dog will like yawn his way up, and then that's when I kind of like do my brushing the teeth, eating the breakfast, walking him. So I try to get all that done by like 9. But if I'm up at like 5, I sometimes will just start working. It just depends because my partner wakes up early too. He trades. So if he's up and I'm up, then we yell good morning to each other, and then we pet the fluffy doggy, and then we go downstairs and have breakfast, and then we're off to the races.
Mm-hmm. Do you drink coffee?
I used to. I stopped drinking coffee like a week ago. So I'm drinking tea now.
How's that been?
Good, actually. I'm very surprised. So I stopped taking my meds with professional advisement, or not advisement, but I didn't just stop.
Consultation.
Yeah. I told my doctor I wanted to stop.
That's great.
Because I want to, in the long run, have a baby, as you know. And so part of that is trying to get my body off of medication because that, when you're pregnant, you can't take Adderall. It's a stimulant and you're not supposed to drink coffee or alcohol. So
do you drink caffeinated tea? You mentioned tea.
I'm sure.
What kind of tea?
Chrysanthemum.
Oh, that's herbal, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
But even caffeinated is less than coffee.
I think you can have a little bit of green tea right? Could you not? Oh, I'm not pregnant. I'm just like trying to.
I don't know. I wasn't. I was just curious because you said.
I don't know. I'm trying to get my body to a place where when I am pregnant, it won't be very difficult. But I guess
tea is milder than
starting
coffee.
with coffee. But I'm sure there's other things like you can't have sandwich meat. You can't have certain types of fish.
Really? That stuff is so bad.
Yeah.
For you
So and it's bad for the baby. But I'm not there yet. So I'm kind of like starting first with the big ones like alcohol and caffeine, and my medication, and then we'll get there because it's gonna be
awesome.
a big change. Yeah.
How, do you have withdrawals from coffee?
I don't think so. Honestly, I think the fact that I stopped taking Adderall and my SSRIs and coffee and stopped drinking alcohol,
SSRI?
Like antidepressants, which are safe, but I want to be off them. So I'm trying it now before I really get far in that process. And I think doing all of it at once must cancel out on some level, I think. Because alcohol is a depressant, Adderall's a stimulant, SSRIs are like a mood stabilizer, and so they're all
like
the
a cocktail.
Yeah, so I would be zeroing out a bit.
So you're not getting. That's good. You're not getting a lot of withdrawal because you stop everything at once, right? That could go.
Yeah, I mean, I did
really bad or good.
Have a trip this weekend, and I did do a little more exercise this week. So we'll have to find out in the long run because I think Adderall I do get withdrawal from in the past because I've been on it for like 4 years. Almost 4 years, not fully, 3 to 4 years. Pretty regularly with, I was on at times like 15 to 20 to 30, but then I was on 20. So I did get withdrawals when I wasn't on it, especially in the beginning when I was really like not stable yet. I would get really irritable, angry, moody, cry. But I don't feel that now. But I'm also, to be fair, I'm not working. So.
At all?
Well, I'm working for myself, but I don't have a full-time job. And when
You're not working for someone else.
Well, I don't have a full-time job. So when I have a full-time job, I can notice the withdrawals a lot more. But when I don't have a full-time job, I can take a nap whenever I want to. And so
you have your own schedule.
I am taking naps and I'm not working as much. I'm underemployed. I'd like to be more employed. But it's a good time to get off meds and experiment when you don't have a job to lose.
That's great. I'm glad you're doing that. And it sounds like it's going relatively well. I also had a period of time where I stopped drinking coffee. I think for similar, well, not to get pregnant, but for a similar reason of wanting to get more in tune with my body. And I did have a pretty strong withdrawal for the first like 10 days or so. And then even the first 30 days, it was better, but it didn't all completely like go away until after 30 days. And then I felt really in the clear, like beyond what I,
yeah, you're like
had
soaring.
thought.
You're like,
I started feeling I started feeling way more alert, which is not what I was thinking. I thought I would be more I thought I would still not sluggish because I knew that coffee was making me sluggish, but I thought I would still be a little less alert, like because I thought coffee was making me alert. But I think I had just built up so much reliance. No. Although I don't know, maybe coffee does that too.
No, just because you were like
I had built up so much.
Is that funny, Prince?
I'd built up so much reliance on coffee that it was really like affecting me. And I've since started coffee again because I don't drink it every day now. But I think I struggle with not the needing the awake, the jolt, but needing that like that. I love the smell of coffee.
The material.
And I like people talk about coffee, go to a coffee shop. And I think it's so enwrapped in our society and kind of like the emotions that I definitely have an emotional addiction to coffee. because I love that feeling. So for a while I was ordering decaf, and that satisfied it. I didn't need the caffeine.
I got into decaf too.
Yeah.
It doesn't taste as good, but yes.
But then I found out it's not. I don't think it's that good for the plant or something.
Oh no.
I'm not sure. Actually, I don't want to spread rumors. But anyway, long story short,
Is coffee good for the plant?
No, they're probably none of them are good. But
it's like vegan. Decaf is like they
actually,
really hurt. They yell mean things.
No, you know what?
They yell at the coffee plant before they take the coffee beans out. They're like,
I don't know.
"You aren't worthy. You don't even have caffeine.
Oh God, I don't want to spread.
No caffeine in you. You will only be drank by pregnant ladies and weaklings and alcoholics who are recovering."
I don't think you can drink it if you're pregnant because decaf coffee does not have caffeine. It has caffeine. It's just less caffeine.
Decaffeinated.
They can't take out all of it. So it's decaffeinated. They do something to it to take it out, but it still has caffeine in it. But it's less. Although I don't want to spread misinformation here. I'm not a coffee expert. A long story short, I just went back to drinking coffee because I just love how it makes me feel. But I don't drink it every day now, and I don't need it. But
healthy balance. You gotta listen to your body. Your body may want stuff, and it may want things for certain reasons. Because here's the thing about SSRIs is like most of the time you go around in the life you're quote unquote normal. There's no such thing as normal. You should read The Myth of Normal by Mel Gabor. But the idea of like the quote unquote myth of normal that you have enough your mood's stable to get through the normal life of working like an 80-hour work week, which is not normal. But you might need stabilizers to function. And then what happens is like you think you're not normal. But in the same way, like those medicines prescribed by a doctor to stabilize you, like things like coffee, whatever, that could be quote unquote bad for you. It's not absolutely objectively bad. It's, maybe too much of it is bad, studies show. But let's say you're starting from a depleted place. So then your body may need a little more of it. And so if you listen to your body, you may need a little more sugar, but not too much because you would be diabetic. But just like listen to your body, you'll find that you can adjust in the right way.
Well, speaking of listening to your body, are you familiar with Andrew Huberman?
I am. Yeah, the Huberman Lab. Are you familiar with Chelsea Peretti?
It sounds familiar.
The comedian. She has a coffee podcast and she sings, "Coffee, coffee, coffee, coffee in my gears. Coffee, coffee."
Well, actually, since you, I was gonna move on to something else because you mentioned the natural rhythms, but there is something I wanted to talk about coffee, and since you brought coffee back, let me say what I was gonna say about coffee before. I guess since we're talking about coffee again, was that I've heard that it's best to wait like about an hour or maybe 90 minutes after you wake up. Actually, this will tie into the Andrew Huberman thing. To drink your coffee, because when you first wake up, your natural rhythms, that's when you have a cortisol spike. Yeah, cortisol is the stress hormone.
I've heard this. You get your natural caffeine kind of.
Oh, yeah, actually, I didn't think of that. So yeah, maybe you don't need it. But on the other hand, you also don't want to add to that because it's going to stress you more because it's already your spike. And on top of that, it won't help you wait. Like if you're drinking coffee. It doesn't
add more, yeah.
If you're drinking coffee to alert, it will add more and it will make you stressed because it's your stress hormone. So you want to wait till it comes down if you're trying to be alert. And number two is besides the cortisol spike, you also, when you first wake up, you still have some adenosine, which is the, oh my God, I'm not a scientist. So I don't know. It's like a receptor, I think, that I don't know how to classify it, but it's these things that when you're sleepy, there you have more adenosine and then they got to bind to make you feel sleepy, right? So coffee, what it does is it binds to it and tricks you into thinking you're not sleepy. Well, you want to wait for that to clear before you drink. Yeah, because if you drink coffee, it's going to make you alert. But then once you finish the coffee, the adenosine is still there and you'll have a crash. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but if you let it clear naturally and drink it when you're alert, then it will keep you longer. It will keep you alert longer.
Yeah, interesting. I never thought about it that way, but that makes sense because I've been like a week off Adderall, and usually when I drive, I used to wake up first thing, drive Uber because I try to get that 6 to 8 a.m. people going to work, and it's not as much traffic, and I like that very stable morning routine, and people, it's just like usually individuals going to work. It's like a routine. Everything's predictable. I like predictability, but I found that would be the time as I'm driving and the sun's coming up and I'm waking up when I have all the ideas and I'm like, wow, I should write stuff down. And I'm holding on to them like, great idea. And then so I started being like, no, I want to wake up and write and then I'll Uber in the afternoon. But this last week, I just came out. I Ubered today, this morning, and I haven't had Adderall for a whole week or coffee. And I woke up and I was driving and I had ideas. And I was like, this might not be an Adderall thing. And I was like, maybe it's a normal, natural cortisol. I was driving around like, la-di-da-di-da. Because you also, part of it is getting your blood moving. Because if you just wake up and sit there, you might not get ideas. But if you get around and you're like, I'm in the fields, tilling, you know, then your arms are moving, your blood's moving, your like body's like, time to cortisol because the beast might hunt me.
Yeah, no, those are all great. Actually, that is one of the things that is really helpful in the morning is to have some movement. That will wake you up, and it also kicks up your adrenaline, all those things that signal to your body to wake up. I think the key is what I've seen a lot.
Yeah, but don't be woke, bitches.
What is that supposed to mean?
You know, those woke kids these days, they're so woke. I want to be a sleepy.
I'm trying to fall asleep. I'm going to get into some science that backs this up. Basically all the things you're saying, and I think comes naturally to most people. We just feel it, and we know that feels good to wake up like that. But Andrew Huberman, who is a
Stanford,
a neuroscience researcher, right, at Stanford, as TT mentioned. He talks a lot about optimizing the body's rhythms and things like that. So these are some of the things that he mentioned that are helpful to kind of I get not hack isn't the right word because you're working with your body.
I like a lot of the stuff he says. I need to add a disclaimer that he's got it's very man, and it's okay, but sometimes you'll have men on it and they'll
Atomic man.
Well, they'll start talking about how like men are wired to do this and women are wired to do this. I'm like, I actually like where he comes from because he's looking at data, but when he has all the men together and say talking about like men being primed to like be alphas, and I'm like, so that's my little like my proceed with caution with Andrew Huberman. To anyone listening, I think he's really interesting. Check it out. Make your own decisions. I think he's a lot of interesting things to say. I do think sometimes this podcast can get very much into the like, well, women are primed to be sexy and the men are primed for novelty, and you're like
Sure, yeah, there's different focuses of researchers, right? I'm not going to get into that aspect of it. I personally don't know.
When you put us all in the girls' table and all the boys at the boys' table, we will fall into our roles. But sometimes I'll escape and have tacos.
I'm glad that you brought that up because I actually, in my research, I had the thought to look up women CEOs and what their morning routines are and see if they differ, because a lot of people, like you said, a lot of podcasts love to focus on like CEOs
wake up and ejaculate off my rooftop.
No, God. They just assume it's men, but I found a couple cool ones that were women. But before I get off topic,
tell me.
I want to tell you some of the things Andrew Huberman.
What's Ahub have to say?
Ahub. Oh, God. Okay, one of the first things he says, get natural light in your eyes. Don't stare directly at the sun. He just means like see light, which I thought was interesting that you mentioned waking up with the sun too. And I'll touch on that too, because you said you woke up before. He mentioned that too, your body, we talked like the natural cortisol spike. So actually when you wake up in the morning and you, if you're used to waking up at a certain time, your body's also used to having this spike at a certain time. That's why some people, when they're on vacation or on the weekends, they can't sleep in, like you were saying, because your body is already primed for that. So you waking up before the sun is because you were already primed that time. So even though you didn't see the sun in your eyes, your body is on a clock.
This is so interesting because literally as we're saying this, the clock is 3 p.m. and I just suddenly felt awake. And it's usually for a while when I wasn't taking...
Interesting. Because that's the spike. He said that's the 3 p.m. around is when people are the most alert and productive.
Oh, interesting. And that's why I went for a run last week at 3. But I will say before, when I was on meds, before I went back down at 20, when I was working full time and I would get a crash at 3, when I was just taking my extended release Adderall, 20 in the morning, I had to take another 10 at 3. And so then I started doing my nap for like over 3 years, pretty much on the dot, like wake up 5, 6 a.m., nap at 11 a.m. for like 20 minutes, like a meditation nap, like not a full nap, but just meditate and then wake up, and then one at 3. And then after that, I'd feel really awake. And then I started skipping the 3 sometimes because, we were allowed outside again and you can always nap at 3. Oftentimes you're not at home. But after I stopped Adderall, I noticed I get that spike at 3. My first thought when he said cortisol was like, oh, is my body used to getting the spike at 3 from taking Adderall? But now not even needing it, I'm not crashing anymore because I went on a run at 3. And if you know me, I used to have a joke about how you run and I don't, and we look the same. Like, I don't run, but I did. And just now it's like, I'm awake. And it literally is 3 p.m. So.
Well, it could be because if you're taking meds, you're right. Because your body just gets used to what you do at certain times. So it could very well be that all influences it. But besides your hormones and your cortisol, there's another thing, which is your body temperature. And this is why people say take a cold shower to wake up, or have your room temperature really cold to fall asleep better, because your body temperature also has a circadian rhythm that's 24 hours, and it gets the coldest 2 hours before you're used to waking up. Okay, it's timed. So obviously, if you wake up at different times every day, that's why your body gets thrown off. But normally, if you're waking up at a pretty similar time, it's 2 hours before you wake up. And that could also be why you were popping up with the sun, because if your body was timed to have it dip then, and then it gets the hottest. I don't want to say this wrong. I think it gets the hottest when you wake up. I think that's the peak. No, I'm wrong. It goes up for you to wake up. That's when you were waking up. But it gets the hottest. That's where your 3 p.m. comes in. It gets the hottest around that time. I don't remember the exact number, but maybe it's like 10 hours or so after. It's like around the afternoon.
It's almost like your body is a spaceship moving through time, and it's no, it really like a battery. You're literally hot, heat, energy. You're charging.
Yeah, it has these rhythms.
Charge.
So that's why
and
when
then at the end of the day, like the little embers. But here's a tip, ladies: if you want to hack this cold hot body, and you want to wake up with an ice cold beer, just stick it up your pussy.
Do not take this as advice.
2 hours before you wake up, stick an ice cold beer up your pussy. Or 2 hours before, plop it out. Boom. Ice cold beer for breakfast.
Stop. No. But anyway, I do want to add an addendum on the cold showers, because you would think the cold showers is to be cold, but it's to make your body temperature hot.
Because it warms you.
Yeah, it raises your core temperature. Although obviously if you take too long of a cold shower, you're going to get hypothermia. So don't take any of this stuff to extreme. These are just little ways to kind of like get yourself aligned. But if you feel like, you listen to your body. If you feel really freezing cold, don't do it. If you feel really hot, don't, listen to your body.
I wonder if this is why the old popos at the park do Tai Chi, because when they do, and gongongs, but more popos, but the Tai Chi, you get really sweaty. But for anyone who has never done Tai Chi or doesn't know, Tai Chi is all about control, and it looks like they're just moving slow, but it's so controlled, and you're moving so slow, and you're focused and breath. And it's like, as you're moving, imagine holding your arm up for like an hour. It would hurt, right? But you're not thinking about that. You're moving it slowly. But after a while, that's why you're sweating in Tai Chi. So you're actually warming up your body slowly. You're not like, you're like, and I raise my hand. It's almost atomic.
But yeah, I think that's really a good point. And I do want to take that and talk about movement too in the morning, because movement is a really important component of the morning as well, because like you said, it can warm you up, and also your adrenaline, all those things signal to your body that it's time to be alert. So those things will wake you up. Have you ever read the book The 5 a.m. Club by Robin Sharma?
I have not.
You don't need it. You're already a 5 a.m. Club. Well, it's a book. It's okay. But
Miami has a lot of 5 a.m. clubs.
That's funny. Not that 5 a.m. Club. It's a book by Robin Sharma. But it's a story. It's okay. But he does touch on some
really
good points.
Selling it.
Well, I'm not necessarily recommending it, but I will say that he has some really good points. So I would check it out, what he's talking about at least. It's a very short read. So if you want, like me, I was interested in what he was saying. So I just read it, even though the book was okay.
You like to procrastinate doing your laundry.
Oh, so what he says is the first hour of the morning is the most important. And the reason he says 5 a.m. is because most people, I think, work, have like 9 to 5. So that's the only time they can kind of have to themselves. But if you have a more free schedule, you can adjust how you want. But he's saying 5 a.m. Is to have the first hour to yourself and get a head start. And he divides it up into 3 sections. So it's 20 minutes of movement. Oh. Right? Just like the same, this goes along with what Andrew Huberman, all the scientific research shows that gets you pumping, that gets your adrenaline going. 20 minutes, he says, of meditation or journaling, which is kind of like a centering.
Mind, body.
Yes. And you were saying with Tai Chi, so maybe that goes with it too. and 20 minutes of personal development where it's like reading, maybe
Mind,
learning.
no, body, mind, spirit.
Spirit.
Boom.
Yeah. And it sounds so simple, but all these different things, all these different people, CEOs and everybody's morning routines, I feel like naturally just that's where it gravitates towards, even if we're not doing it on purpose. You know?
Let me tell you something. No, you made me have a thought, and I actually think I've got a new routine that I'd like to sell.
Okay.
And this isn't a joke, but it may sound like it, but you really did make me think of it. Because we're like, what do successful CEOs do? But like, go with me on this. My first thought, well, first I want to ask you this. Who do you want to emulate, right? You hear CEOs. But sometimes, who else do you want to be like? Do you ever find yourself being like, if only I could be my dog? My dog, go with me. My dog is a very blessed creature, lives a very fluffy life, is praised by 2 working humans who work their ass off just to provide cute little outfits for him, you know, like, and feed him the best Wagyu steak. Like, he gets to eat Wagyu. I can't even have Wagyu. I'm allergic to beef. I have a point. Point is, then you hear what I thought, okay, basically, zoomies. You know how people get zoomies? I get zoomies in the morning. I go like, la, 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 and I start singing Les Mis to my boyfriend, and he's like, oh my God, shut up. But that's my cortisol spike. I'm telling you, what if the morning routine is just, we're thinking too much like CEOs, just the zoomy diet, the zoomy routine. You wake up, be like your dog. Wake up, zoom the fuck around for 20 minutes, go outside, have a bowel movement, come in, eat your breakfast, take a nice little nap, and then sit in the sun. That's what they do. Dogs literally will regulate. My dog will sit in the sun. He'll be like, I'm going to have poop. I'm going to come inside. I'm going to chase a ball. I'm going to cuddle and get some love and affection because I need it. I know how to ask for it. Now I'm going to sit in the sunspot and warm up my body.
Yeah, it's like Andrew Huberman was saying, get natural light.
Yep. Be like your dog. Literally, what if we just watched our dog? Zoomy time? Me too. Zoomy.
You know why that works? Because dogs are not overthinking. They're not using their like logical mind.
What if you just use your dog as the alarm? When your dog is running, you run. When your dog is pooping, you poop. No, but when your dog is in the sun, you work.
Well, it's true because dogs, they're in tune with they're in tune with their bodies. They're in tune with nature, right?
Yeah.
If you look at like the birds, they don't get scared. If the branch breaks, they can fly. Like animals are usually generally pretty in tune.
They do get scared.
Yeah, but they're not overthinking things in the way that humans, we've kind of built up all these layers.
No, I know what you mean. They're not like, how can my career
I have a point
fail?
Here. Okay. No, but what I mean, I'm getting a little jumbled. What I mean is that what you said about dogs makes sense because they're in tune with nature. So if we follow their lead and we also kind of not overthink it, we follow the lead, we get in tune with nature. Our body's circadian rhythms, all those things will line up.
Yeah, I'm not even kidding. Like when my dog...
No, I know you're not kidding.
And when my dog sits in the sun, I used to be like, how nice. And he does that when I'm working. And then sometimes I find it used to be like, I would think, oh, it's a good distraction. But actually what I found is like when I come to a natural kind of like close in my work, my dog, Wushu, will come up and ask to go to the bathroom. And I'm always like, great, a well-timed walk, clear my head, come back and work. But now I'm like, oh my God, he has been training me. Like my dog is the best manager. Literally, if you get to work from home and you have a dog and you cannot for the life of you maintain your own schedule, I challenge you to try this. I challenge you. Do the zoomy routine, like zoom with him after he poops, go have your poop, eat your breakfast. When he sits in the sun, or she, or they, I don't know what your dog is, go work. And then when your dog needs to pee, don't go not now. That's your natural break. Take a walk, come back and work. I'm telling you, when your dog is sunbathing, it's prime warm hours, prime work hours.
You know,
follow your dog.
There was a saying, a study. There's a study in Tel Aviv, and it backs that up actually, the sun thing, because it studied people going into the sun and getting sun on their skin, and it showed that their testosterone levels went up. Maybe not just testosterone.
How to be an atomic man.
Okay, let me talking. I can't. Oh God. Everything comes back around to the atomic man. We should change the title to that. But no, it showed that the testosterone levels went up, their energy went up, everything, their passion went up, and apparently even like it flows into all other aspects of their lives. Like they're more creative, they're more maybe passionate in their relationships too, and more warm and responding and
It's
all that
almost
stuff.
like the sun is the source of all life.
Well, yes. So the thing is, it was saying like it's not just waking you up, but
definitely for sure,
it
for
is.
sure, yeah.
And so it's
No,
not just
that was sarcastic. Okay, sorry. Go ahead. Please continue.
No, it's okay. I don't have anything important to say. I just
Oh yeah, you do. Please
can't finish my sentences.
Please redo it.
I mean, you said it. It's really, that's what it is. That's what I was getting at. So thanks for finishing my thought for me. But yeah, basically there is science that backs up what you were saying that you intuitively noticed about dogs.
But not cats.
You don't think so?
No, have you ever seen cats in the middle of the night? They're insane.
Oh, cats are nocturnal, so they're probably on a different circadian
They're
rhythm.
on an alien rhythm.
But
Have you ever seen they just open drawers?
cats are a little funky.
For
I
fun.
love cats.
They'll jump on your face. I used to have a cat, and then I would wake up, look up, and she'd be staring at me like this. And then, like, she was waiting for me to wake up. And then immediately, as soon as I opened my eyes, jump down, crawl all over me. Like, there's no circadian rhythm there.
I'm sure they have one. I'm not well researched on what they
Well,
are,
they're just
but I know that they're
time
nocturnal.
to like torture you.
They might have a like an alternating one from us because they're nocturnal, but I'm sure they have one as well because they have to hunt at night, right? Like in nature.
Yeah, I don't know how much it helps you if your cat is opening drawers at night for you to get a good night's sleep. But
Okay, so earlier you said something about female CEOs, or female in general, as opposed to male.
less mask.
So
yeah.
I wanted to dive into some of these routines that I've heard
Let's dive.
female CEOs, and unsurprisingly, actually, they're mostly pretty similar across the board, right? Like we were saying earlier, you were saying the Zoomies thing. It just boils down to movement, some kind of spiritual, alignment, and what did we say? Mind, body, spirit.
Yeah.
So they all kind of boil down to some version of this, more or less. But I do like seeing the female CEOs take, because it has a more, I guess, a softer approach sometimes. Sometimes they don't. But one is Marie Kondo, who's the author of The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up. And she mentions having herbal tea or hot water early in the morning. That's another thing Andrew Huberman mentioned as well, drinking a lot of water first thing in the morning.
Like a plant. We're literally just bodies. No, we're literally cells. Like, we're full of cells, and cells need water. Think about it. You know how you wake up and you water your plants? You should water your cells.
No, yes. So I know you're joking, but
I'm
that's
not joking.
literally...
Why do you think I'm joking? I'm yes-anding you.
Okay, so...
Well, everyone thinks nothing I say is serious, but actually I'm the most serious person ever.
So she has herbal tea. I'm guessing herbal because maybe not caffeine first thing in the morning. But if you do have coffee, just have water first. Drink coffee a little later. She also takes time to be grateful. She does like gratitude prayers, things like that.
And then she throws out half her closet.
Can you imagine if she did that every day?
Every morning I wake up and I cut every t-shirt in half and say, not you.
When I first read that book, Titi gifted me that book, by the way.
It's a good book.
I thought it was a hint that I needed to clear out my closet. It's when we were living together.
It was very popular, and my friend translates for her. So
no, it was very good, and it did make me put things in perspective of like how much do we really need. But when I first read that book, because you mentioned her throwing out her closet, my first thought was like, this woman must be rich, because I can't always afford to get rid of everything that doesn't spark joy. Some things it's like, I don't love this one, but this is the one I can afford. That was back then, my thinking back then. I've since kind of opened up to a more, I get what she's saying now, because it's like having a different mindset to the world instead of like feeling scarcity. You have an abundance.
If you don't have a lot of things, you can like,
you can find
the
joy
things
in
that
those.
spark joy
Yes.
for me are things that I tended, if I wanted it. Let's say I really wanted a shirt. Let's say it wasn't expensive, or I finally got the shirt. I wanted a jacket, but I couldn't get the expensive one, but I finally found a cheap one, right? That would spark joy for me, because it reminds me of something I really want to aspire to, right? Like,
I agree. So now I see it differently, but when I first read that book, that was my thought, like, what kind of rich person book is this? But maybe it's teaching us all to think more abundantly and more richly about our lives. Okay, so that was Marie Kondo's. Whitney Wolf, who is the CEO of Bumble, she has a similar thing to you. She says she sleeps with the drapes open so that she can rise with the sun. Oh, and also Marie Kondo doesn't use an alarm clock either. A lot of these, they don't use alarm clocks, along the lines of what you're saying, going with the natural flow of your body and the sun. So Whitney also avoids the phone dive. We haven't talked about that yet, but I do want to talk a little bit about looking at your phone first thing in the morning. So she actively avoids that, and she drinks a whole liter of water.
Really? Wow. Very
There's the water
ironic
again.
coming from the person who made a phone app where people are addicted to swiping left and right.
Can you imagine? Sorry, I'm just imagining scenarios for each one of these people based on their enterprise. Like Marie kind of like selling, getting rid of a closet. Now Whitney was waking up and swiping Bumble every morning.
Well, so she's like, don't use your phone. And everyone's like waking up and like, I must look by my matches. I must look at my matches.
Well,
she's like,
I think what these morning routines are showing us is that even though they have to go to work
I get it.
and manage their enterprise during the day, they have a quiet moment in the morning for just themselves to set them up for the day. They're not working right away, right?
You know what I wonder? So mind, body, spirit, and I want to hear what your mind, body, spirit version is, not just like the vague like journaling. But I realize, you know how I talk about my fluffy doggy a lot, and it sounds like a joke, but I genuinely in practice, like not just theory, practice, and you've seen me do it. Me and my boyfriend, we will praise my dog for at least like 20 minutes every morning. Like we literally will be like, it's time to praise the fluffy doggy. We've even done it when
your gratitude.
I'm saying even when you watch him, we'll call and be like, can we see Wushu? And you've heard us do it over the phone. You're so fluffy. You're so fluffy. It is
affirmations.
It is that's the spirit. Yeah. We have that's literally 100%. The part where we literally like, some people wake up, pray to God, and we praise our fluffy doggy. I'm not even kidding. We literally,
it gives you the same endorphins that
both of us praise our fluffy doggy, look him in the eye and go, you're so fluffy. You're so fluffy. Why are you so fluffy? You're so cute. You're so fluffy. We love you so much. And we do this every day.
Well, yeah, because those feelings those feelings of joy and love that you're giving to him, like those raise your endorphins, and those have the same result as if you're doing gratitude or prayer or whatever
we need to write a book called The Dog Morning. I'm not even kidding. This TikTok, get ready for the zoomy dog morning. You can help me think of a name. I'm not kidding. Don't you think the simplest thing for Gen Alpha? Follow your dog.
Hey, whatever gets the point across. Okay, I wanted to do. This one is a man actually, so this is not a woman. But I just thought this one was funny. There was a reporter for the Wall Street Journal that did try to do people different crazy. They're not really crazy, but they, a lot of them wake up really early. He tried to do them, and he had a funny reporting. It was very sarcastic. Actually, I think it's similar to how you would report on it, because he was like, I can't do this. And he had a snarky comment for each thing.
I feel like I'm very serious, and people just laugh at what I say.
But his snarky comment, he was like, this is Jamie Dimon, or Demon. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but he's the CEO of JP Morgan and Chase. And he says he spends 2 hours.
Oh, he is.
Oh, he is? Oh, I didn't know that. He spends 2 hours pre-dawn reading, and this was in quotes, tons of stuff. And then I guess it lists 5 major newspapers, analysts, and internal bank reports, speech transcripts, followed by 40 minutes of aerobics, light weights, or stretching. Again, in line with what we were saying about movement. I thought it was funny because the reporter that tried this, after he was like, I got restless after reading all these newspapers. It's like, just funny. Imagine having to read 2 hours of newspapers.
It probably doesn't.
He's a CEO, so he probably has to stay on top of
it. Probably is not what Jamie probably should have done, and he probably already does this. Is he, as a reporter for things like that, is probably on the social medias a lot. And that's what he does for 2 hours, and he probably is equivalent to that.
Yeah, it's he's getting a head start.
I'm not even kidding. Equivalent. Sometimes when I'm going to nap, I scroll TikTok intentionally to surf for info. And that's where I learned about mewing today. I don't know if you know about mewing, well, you know what? Get. These are Gen Alpha words, but literally I'll just sit and TikTok, and not to waste time, but that's what I intend to do, in the same way people read periodicals. Because it's my job is to understand pop culture. It is. I'm a comedian, right? So I have to go into a room, and if someone says something to me, I have to kind of be quick about it. And so I don't go that deep into Gen Alpha, but I'm scrolling and I learn about
Gen Alpha.
Gen Alpha is the generation after Gen Z, so they're all entering high school now. So they're you're going to hear a lot of their slang entering our lexicon. Mewing, if you don't know, is you don't need to know, but it's a way to kind of try to get your people say when you have a double chin, and mewing is when you
make a mewing sound.
No, there's no meowing involved. You put your tongue up against your roof of your mouth like this, and then you swallow. So then it's supposed to, you do it over and over. It's like the kegels of the mouth. It's supposed to make your chin less double. So I can demonstrate. It's like this. Oh yeah.
It's a real thing, or is it a joke?
No, it's real. Gen Alpha Muse.
That's,
It's like, it's,
why is it called Muse? Okay.
I don't know. We did whale tails where our thongs
What
were
are
out.
whale tails?
Well, our generation,
You know,
millennials,
one
had
thing
our thongs. The whale tail. You don't know
we
what a
didn't
male
call
tail
them
is?
that though. I will say this. One thing I've heard is that this generation, Gen Z, I guess, maybe Alpha, but I think Gen Z they were referring to, likes to name everything that was there before. So like I've never heard whale tails.
I've heard whale tails.
But I don't think we
were
called it
saying
that.
This goes.
Who
We
called
were
it
talking.
whale
Whale
tails?
tails were what the adults called them when we
Really?
had whale tails. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
look
maybe
like
that
whale
one went
tails.
over my head. But I have heard that everything's being named and they're naming new things that we've had, but now they think it's their
We'll
thing.
do an episode about Gen Alpha, Gen Z.
Okay,
I actually
yeah.
really love it. My one last thing I'll say is Gen Z does not like Gen Alpha because Gen Alpha is coming for Gen Z. And this is so funny to me because Gen Alpha will be like, slay is out. And Gen Z will go and be like, slay. And millennials will go and be like, slay, haha.
We had that
Anyways.
word too when we were growing up.
But we say it, but they say it like religiously, right? The way we said fleek or whatever for a while, or I don't know, whatever.
I feel like someone tried to make fleek happen and it never happened.
Yeah, but we would say bye Felicia. We would say certain things. We were the meme
That's from
lords.
a movie,
yeah,
yeah.
we were the meme lords. Well, slay was, also existed. We did it in dance or whatever, but it became like the lexicon of the popular kids, right? Like
What came from ballroom
slay,
culture?
slay. But what I'm saying is then Gen Alpha was like, slay's out. Don't say slay. You're old if you say slay. And millennials are just here like, because now Gen Z is on TikTok being like, what? What do you mean? You guys are stupid. What do you mean slay's out? Oh. But it's like, so, anyways, bringing it back to what you're saying about periodicals. That's information. And so I think there's a lot to be said just for the listeners out there. If you don't read the Financial Times and doesn't affect your work, you can do 2 hours of TikToking intentionally, soaking up information. It is, as long as you're not there like tuning out, if you're intentional about it and your brain is turned on and you're like, for example, today 5 minutes of TikToking got me to understand what mewing is.
And you think that is important to?
Yeah, because I'm literally, my job as a comedian and I make TikToks.
Oh, true. So I think there's the through line here is that you want your morning to be intentional, like you said. I think the danger with scrolling, especially social media, is that now you can be, although it sounds like the way you're doing it is proactive, but you can be reactive. And if you do that first thing in the morning, you could set the tone for your day to respond instead of to do what you were planning to do, which is what happens to a lot of people when they're scrolling. Because, and even the news, I think news, you got to be intentional about reading first thing. It sounds like with this particular instance with the Chase CEO, he's setting himself up for his work day. But if we don't have to read the news first thing, you might want to be careful with that, because now your first thing you're doing is responding. Yeah, it's like they say, don't check your emails first thing. That's why you have the time to do your exercise, or you're saying the zoomies or things like that, because you're setting the intention for where you want to go.
I support that. And just to totally clarify, what I mean is, depending on what your work is,
yes,
your version of taking in information, which is what that is saying, ultimately reading a ton of stuff. Because my partner does this. He's in finance and he likes to call it, he just says research, or he'll literally be like, I'm going to read, and he'll read for hours. I'm like, what are you reading? He's on his phone. He's on his computer. I sometimes walk by and he's like playing a video game and I'm like, what is this? And it's like a bunch of narwhals, and you're like, what is this? But it's he's like, I'm researching some new NFT game because someone's talking about this, and then there's this technology. And so like, he knows what he's doing. Like, I trust him. It's just funny. I'll walk by and he's like playing little dragon slayers, and he's like, yes, this is the thing. I'm researching this company. But that's what I mean. For someone outside, that might look like, he makes tons of money doing it. And I'm like, that's great. Good for you. And I'm like, comedians, we're trying to make a podcast. Like, creators, when I take in information, I'm not... Some people react as their job. Do you
think that you should do that first thing in the morning though? Or do you think you should have
I don't do it first thing in the morning, but I will say, if I've had this idea to do more, because now the world is changing. You have to understand that TikTok is not TikTok. It's not social media. It drives me wild that that boomers and millennials still call social media one lump thing. Like, there are jobs that are just social media. And then they'll be like marketing. It should be TikTok marketing, YouTube marketing, Instagram marketing, because there's traditional marketing, which is considered traditional because it's billboards. You're telling me billboards matter more than TikTok, or like streaming, but streaming is just internet. But all the money in traditional advertising still goes to like TV, and then they go social media. Let's lump all the social media platforms into one. What I'm trying to say is TikTok is its own platform, right? It would be like someone being in charge of billboards, also being in charge of I don't know, YouTube ads. Like that's not really what happens, right? And if it is, then they're not doing it right. Someone who's in charge of billboards should really understand geography and what hits well and what the roads are and who's looking at what. It's just the truth. And I don't think TikTok and YouTube and Instagram are the same at all. Like when I make content for each, I have a very different experience. There's definitely crossover, but point being, to your point about the work thing, yeah, I don't think you should scroll TikTok. Don't use this as an excuse to do it if your job is like plumber. But there's also plumber TikTok. So you never know. Nowadays, if you can find a way to monetize and use TikTok as a creator, you can do it in any industry. And I really, really do think that is something that millennials and boomers don't see, that Gen Z and Gen Alpha are taking advantage of.
Well, that is a good point. And I was just asking whether you should do that first thing in the morning, because I'm not saying you shouldn't do the research if that's what your work involves, but we're talking about kind of how you're setting the tone for the day. And I don't, I guess I would say my personal experience, because I don't want to speak for anyone else, but my personal experience is when I wake up, and that's also when if you want to get woo-woo and witchy about it, it's like when right before you go to bed and right before you wake up, or right after you wake up, you're still kind of like transitioning from the dream state to the waking. So you're kind of more in touch with your subconscious, right? That through line hasn't like gotten so closed down yet. And let me finish. You're setting your tone for the day. So if your first thing is it's almost like roulettes. If you're looking at your phone first thing, because you don't know what you're gonna get. And same with news. You could get breaking news that there was a war that broke out, or you could get a good news, or you could see something cute on TikTok, but you could also see something bad, or you could see something you don't know because you're letting your phone tell you. Versus waking up and doing your yoga, or doing your gratitude, having that hour to yourself, setting your intention, maybe saying like, this is how I feel today. I want to feel grateful. I love my dog. I love, like you're saying, fluffy dog, blah blah blah. Doing all those things and then diving into the work. If you have to look at TikTok, that's fine. But now you've set the tone for the day. I think there is a difference doing that first.
I hear what you're saying, and I actually totally agree, especially knowing you, that makes sense the way you're saying it. I want to widen that perspective and offer you a different point of view that still doesn't contradict that, supports that, in that depending on how you see the world, and not everyone's the same. Some people see it as like, I'm in the world, and especially if your energy is very affected by the outside world, like you said, unpredictableness of the world. But how I feel like I've kind of set a tone for myself is when I'm alone, there's unpredictability that can get stabilized by connecting to the world. So when I'm alone, and I have been alone a lot, and I do comedy, you have to know my job is so different from other people's jobs. Part of the height of when I'm the most plugged in is when I am on stage in front of a room full of people looking at me, listening to me. And so the opposite of that is me on the internet looking at people and they can't see me, right? There's a balance. I think a balance is important. For me, when I look at the unpredictability of the world, that's actually me tuning in to myself. Because my reaction and my thoughts, that's the consistency in my life. But I hear what you're saying for some other people whose job isn't to react that quickly, right? Like my job is literally getting on stage, reacting to the room, everything I hear, my thoughts. What are you saying? What's it? I'm literally tuning in to my own thoughts by tuning into how people are connecting to me. That is how I stabilize. But when I'm alone, if I spend too much time alone, I do spiral. So I totally hear what you're saying, but I'm just trying to open you up to say that depending on who you are, like if someone's listening to this and going like, well, I agree more with Jen, like looking at the news makes me sad, so I would rather spend time alone and do yoga. I think that's totally right. But I do want to point out that there may be people out there who are like me, who tuning in to yourself may involve throwing a bit of chaos into it to see what happens, because that's when I feel my most true self. That's all I'm trying to say, just opening that up, because I don't really think like anything could happen. You could do yoga and you could spiral, which happens. I spiral. I'm like, I'm stretching, but I'm not stretching enough. Oh no, I'm not good. Versus if I'm on the internet and my goal isn't to get validation, that's the difference. If you're on there to get validation, it may be bad, but I'm just on there to kind of plug in to the world, and I want to be a part of the world. That's my zero. My zero is I exist in this world and I'm a part of it. it's really important to me to check in that the world hasn't ended yet for me.
Mm-hmm.
For me personally. And some people it's not, but for me it's important.
Yeah, fair enough. And it sounds like we're kind of saying the same things at the ground level, which is everybody's morning routine is different, but you want to do something that grounds you.
Yeah.
And whatever that is for yourself.
And consistent.
And
gives you some
and
consistency.
the only reason I said phones can be dangerous, and of course I'm not saying depending on your job, maybe you need to look at it, but only reason I said it was dangerous is because it can be unintentional, but it sounds like what you're saying is you can use it in an intentional way. So yeah, to each his own. But the through line I'm seeing in all these different morning routines is to find something that helps you set the tone for the day the way you want it. So if that's looking at your phone, I think for a lot of people that can be dangerous, but if you know yourself and that sets the tone you want for the day, then by all means. So another article in 2020 in Forbes just kind of listed the 5 morning habits of highly successful people.
How many of them were atomic men?
I was thinking that, and that's why I laughed. I knew you were going to say that. But they basically just reiterate what we've gone through. But I like to say these because it's really reassuring to see that everyone is saying the same thing at the end of the day. The number one they said was ditch the alarm clock, which feels much more natural. And besides just leaning into your body, you're also kind of tuning into the sun and nature, all those things. Jeff Bezos, Oprah, and Ariana Huffington, just to name a few, all swear by this. But another thing they said is not just the being in tune, but they said the alarm clock. If you think about the word alarm, I think Oprah said this. It's alarming. She was like, I don't want to yeah, and this goes back to setting the tone. You don't want to set the tone the first thing in the morning to wake up with stress and alarm. So
that's true. I wonder if that's going to be one of those things like how corsets we look at, we're like, that was crazy. Oh, sorry for the use of crazy, but you know, like, well, that was weird. Like, look, I wonder if the future will look back and be like, you know, people used to just wake themselves up with literal bomb sounds. And we'll be like, what was that? Like,
I know. And my experience, like I was saying, when I was trying to wake up early this week, I didn't have my alarm, but I think even the clock, looking at the clock made me not want to wake up. Whereas when I don't look at the clock, I just get up and do my thing.
You tune in.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the other thing is if you trust your body and you end up waking up at 2, you trust that your body needed to.
Yeah, it needed the sleep.
Instead of freaking out, be like, good job, body.
Yeah. Because it's that judgment mind that's telling us like,
I woke up
late.
My body needed something. My body needed to wake up. My body needed to sleep.
So instead of waking up with the alarm clock, she says the first thing she does is give gratitude, right? This goes along the lines of what we were saying, or your fluffy dog affirmations, some sort of setting the tone for the day. Number 2 is don't go straight for the coffee. Water first. All these things we already talked about earlier. Waiting 60 to 90 minutes after you wake up to drink coffee if you must have it. Cortisol levels peak 30 to 35 or 45 minutes after you wake. So it spikes after you wake up usually. But if you're on a irregular sleep schedule, it could get thrown off more. Okay. And then number 3, we talked about this a lot, but with get your body moving, which seems like a very intuitive thing for most people. For me, it's walking my dog because he needs to go potty. But we usually do the workout a little later in the day because I trade and I want to capture the window because I'm on the West Coast. Number 4 is eliminate decision-making tasks. So if you can plan your day the night before, so you can kind of spring up and get to it and set the tone again. Because if you sit down and you're like crunching numbers and trying to figure things out, you're already stressing your mind. What I like to do is I like to write out a couple things, maybe like around 6 or so things I want to get accomplished. Lately, actually, I started doing this week and I like it. I think I'm going to keep doing it. Is I've sorted those into categories like home, work, my career, my working career, kind of separate right now because I'm trying to transition careers. And then I have a 4th one, side quests, because this podcast is in that category. So they're like kind of other things I want to do, but they're not like.
I do that too. Yeah. I used to track every day. The category would be like, I have home / health. I put those together. Like if a doctor's appointment or dog, that's all home.
Yeah,
and
gym, all that stuff.
Yeah, and then I have
stuff.
work, and then I have family, And so like I split them into that, but I like that you do that. Now I just straight up split it into mind, body, spirit.
Oh, that's nice. Well, the reason I found that helpful this week is because, like I mentioned, it's kind of slow season right now for my DJ business. And normally when it's busy, it's mostly work stuff. But lately I've had a lot of home stuff and career stuff, which is me working on my artistry and the side quest. So I'm trying to do that to make sure I still get some work done every day, because if I'm not careful during the slow season, I don't do any work and I only do the other stuff.
Side quest doesn't fall into career for you, because for me this stuff falls into career. So it's interesting.
No, yeah, there's just however you want to and it changes. It might change, you know, at a different time in my life, but right now this is kind of how I have a balance of, like, there's maybe 2 or 3 in each category. Maybe at another point there might be different. Okay, that was number 4. And number 5 is, I like this one because it's so specific, but this is just a Forbes article. It's not like
have a bowel movement.
No, but this is based on something Steve Jobs said. So this was, ask yourself this question. And this is a question that Steve Jobs used to ask himself in the mirror every day.
Am I a good father?
Did he have kids?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Anyway, his question to himself was,
do I have kids? Okay, what? Sorry, go. What is it? Sorry. I'm sorry. It was right there. What was it?
His question to himself in the mirror every day, he would look in the mirror and say, if today were the last day of my life, would I want to do what I'm about to do today? If the answer is no for too many days in a row, I know I need to change something. So you can ask yourself a question like this. It doesn't have to be exactly like this, but I do in some form like this, kind of just like, what are my priorities today to further my goals, right? And goals
also to enjoy your present.
Yeah,
enjoy
goals,
the gift of life.
Goals are being like your goals for your personal development, not just like goals like I have to go to the gym, I have to go to the bank, not those kind of goals. But they maybe those are things that will lead to where you're going, but goals as in like, you know, whatever your goal is. Like for me, you know, it could be your personal mission. It could be, you know, I want to inspire others, or I want to feed the world. Whatever it is that your kind of overarching mission, are you moving towards that? So it's not just your to-do list, like go to the gym. Those things are good too, but you should also make sure you're touching on the things that bring you closer.
I like that. And I also think that to challenge that one step further, your to-do list should all actually have if they don't have the underlying theme of your goal, they shouldn't be on there. For example,
some things you have to do.
Well, not necessarily.
Like vacuum.
Let me give you an example.
I have to vacuum.
Let me give you an example. Going back to Marie Kondo, everything's sparking joy. There is always a way, the path of least resistance, where you feel like you're in your most aligned self, is that everything you're doing should be something you want to be doing right now. Including, right? For example, like, oh, let's say, I'm not like if you want to get extreme, like, oh no, you got sick and you have a stomach ache, so you have to poop. You'd be like, do you want to poop right now? It's like, given all the information and the things you can't change, yes. If you're sick, do you want to get better? And that's the road to getting better. Yes. Okay. So even that extreme. But when you talk about something like going to the gym or doing the laundry, I would even say that's included. Because for me, I don't go to the gym. But then when I realized I want to get healthy, what I realized was like, how can I fold getting healthy, because it's not in my lifestyle yet, and being like, you know, working out in a way where I don't feel like, oh, I'm wasting an hour doing something I don't want. There are ways, right? Being active, like you said, getting a dog and walking that dog. If you enjoy dancing, I literally will be at home and dance around, watching TikTok videos and making a TikTok dance. You can find a way to make your take on the thing that you need to do, quote unquote, to be healthy, so that in the now, it's the best version of now. And I do really like that. And I know that's a like willy-nilly, woo-woo, rosy-colored version of the world, but I'm 34 and, you know, we've had tragedy and lost people in our lives. So I really don't take that lightly. I'm not like, oh, I'll just do it or don't. You know, I'm like literally like, that's how I feel. If something like I don't want to do, like we went to that club I didn't want to go in, I was like, I'm going to a gay club. Like in a way where I was still respectful of my friends, I still did as much as I could until I couldn't, right? I'm not like, I wouldn't go on a trip at all if I didn't think I would have fun. But that's what I mean. Like, would I do this if it was my last day? Is it important to me to have friends and to support my partner? Yes. Is it important my the partner feels supported and has friends that support him? Yes. Therefore, I go on the trip. Do I want to be clubbing in Miami? No. But do I want to be right now in a healthy, loving relationship where my partner feels supported and I support him and he supports me? Yes. So therefore, through that lens, I'm doing exactly what I want to do. That's what I mean. Like, you can find a way to make vacuuming like that.
Yeah.
Those days when I'm in between, when you don't want to do, you want to take I just need 5 more minutes before I start my work. Oh my God, a Swiffer will take 5 minutes. Boom. That's exactly what you want to be doing. I'm cleaning my house and not doing my work. You can transmute every single minute of your life into, I literally think you can transmute it in a way that you get everything you need and you never do what you don't want to do.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it, just to stay in alignment. And I think that's a really great way to wrap this up, because it just goes to show how important the morning routine is for setting your alignment for the rest of the day. If you start it kind of misaligned, you can get back on track, but it's much harder. So that's why the morning, especially that first hour, is so important. Is there anything else you want to add before we wrap this up?
Well, I really do think there's something about this dog routine that I want to explore. I'm really thinking about it, and for listeners out there, please, like, if you have more to add or like it, let me know, because if you have a pet and maybe birds are also really in tune with nature, but like literally I just think about zoomies. When the dog's running around, my dog doesn't need really more than like 10 minutes of throwing a ball around every day. Like, he's small and he gets tired pretty quickly. So instead of like, when he wants to play, instead of ignoring him, I'm just like, yeah, I can take 10 minutes off, because he will lose his energy. I throw the ball around, and somehow it always makes me more energized to work after. You know, it's like, it works. It doesn't make me go, well, now that I played ball for 10 minutes, guess I can't get back to work.
You get your adrenaline up.
I literally am like, it's perfect. And it works. And then he's in the sun and I'm working, and I'm like, what if we actually thought about that more? And I know you thought I was joking about bowel movements, but I really do think there's a key to that. The way the dogs do their bowel movements, and I don't, not to get too into it, just, whatever, I won't get into details, but it's a necessary thing, like eating, whatever, sleeping, drinking water. You got to let the waste out. And if you can incorporate that into your routine in a way that's healthy, I do think that will make it healthy. Having consistent bowel movements. Nobody's talking about that, but it's really important.
Yeah, we could talk about that in another, about gut and diet. I really find that fascinating. And I do think they say you are what you eat, and what you eat can influence your mood as well.
But also the feeling of releasing, like whenever you have had a crazy night out or whatever, I don't think you feel good until after the last bit is gone, right? And like wherever end it comes out. But also just on a normal basis, every day there's a reset. The sun comes up, you do your morning, you do your little bowel movement, and then I always feel like, boom, I'm clear-headed, ready to work. Your poop is not in your mind. Why do you feel clear-headed after you poop?
We didn't even talk about this yet, and I had wanted to touch on it, but I think we're running a little over. But about breakfast and fasting, because I just started doing intermittent fasting again. So maybe we can find another episode to talk about it. But I think you're onto something for sure. Your diet and all that, it's all connected. Our mind, body, spirit, like you were saying, everything, it runs like a well-oiled machine when everything's aligned. And once it gets misaligned, that's when you're kind of fighting unnecessarily. You're making kind of things harder for yourself when it could just feel easy.
It's your body's within itself fighting when the energy could be. Think about qi. Literally in Chinese culture, qi is when everything's working together. But if there's qi that's off, your energy's pushing against each other, you're losing energy, right? Like literal loss of energy, loss of heat. It's like, you know how you get rashes and hot spots? Literally, the heat is fighting against each other instead of going out into the world. Now, I do want to say this, my final thing about our body being a machine, because I really like that. I like to think of my body as a ship. I think of it as a ship that passes through time. Literally a ship that helps my consciousness pass through time and space. Because that's literally what it is. And it sounds sci-fi, but literally it is
a vessel.
You have an engine, you have everything.
A vessel is
and when
a
you
ship,
think about how ships have exhaust, like you literally have to get the bad stuff out. You have to refuel. You have to eat food. Literally, you can't put your and also if you're in the middle of a storm, your goal is going to be to hunker down, not to go forward no matter what. Like you're going to just ride out the storm. Or with still waters, you're not going to be like, get the engines going. Like that might be a time to just like maintain the ship. And then when the winds are in your favor, that's when you're like, whoo, let's go. And so I think if you tune in to time and space around your body rather than being like, what can I do to, get the winds going, because the wind doesn't come from within. Like, you can't go. It's like some people go out to do networking things. Sometimes
I would argue it does. I think that
you think a ship can start the wind.
I think when we're talking about the human consciousness.
Maybe this is another topic.
No,
but
I really like your analogy. And the ship, it works with this. You set where you want to go, and you create the wind.
Yeah, but within the journey, you have to accept when there's things out of your control.
Yep.
Even if it, and you can do, if it makes you feel better to go to networking events when you're not working, fine. But I would say, to be honest, I used to do that a lot. And then I realized, actually, if you have the intention, things will come to you. The right networking event, if it comes your way, someone invites you, do you want to go to this, your best friend? And you're like, yeah, sounds cool, go. But when you spin your wheels, literally, going through the newspapers, going through blogs, that's when you fall into those traps. People are like, be your best self, pay $9.99 for till you find out how to network. You can't meet casting directors. Those are all traps. They're traps.
Yeah. Yeah, so I like what you're saying. So it sounds like you said set your intention. I think that is kind of guiding the wind. Or maybe the wind isn't, maybe
the wind can set you back too. Just know which winds to follow.
It's like in the Tao Te Ching, they talk about kind of going with the flow.
Know which winds to follow.
And then when it's when you're running up against obstacle, instead of trying to push head on, maybe try to find a way to use it to your advantage, go around, or see what the lesson is in that. So I think that's a great way to tie up this episode. We've kind of touched on a bunch of different types of morning routines, and I think we found a title for this. I think it could be. What's this?
I'm becoming an atomic man.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. That's actually a better one. No, I was gonna say how you can learn from your dog to optimize your morning routine.
Oh yes.
Oh, like a dog. Oh.
Dogs.
Well, maybe we'll A-B the titles. But basically, that's
Wake up like your dog.
Wake up. Yeah. Wake up like your dog. How to learn from your dog. How to learn from animals. I don't know. Whatever it is. Thank you guys so much. And we'll see you next time.